I've been wondering, why is it when there's all these studies that show that secure attachment people do better in relationships, and that people in general do better when they have good relationships in community. Why is it that avoidants seem to be selected by the current environment, the current social economic environment? What is it? Well, it suggests that, yeah, there's another factor besides human happiness that's at play here. Because if it was just about human happiness, then it would select for secure attachment. So what could that be? I'm just speculating. Yeah, here's how I think it could go. Basically, the global economy selects for hyper individuals who can cooperate, but transactionally in companies, not like emotionally treating humans as humans, only as tools for their own success and the company's success. Um, these people are ruthless when it comes to making money or getting ahead in their careers. They can focus um, on work to the exclusion of other people's feelings or the life of animals or plants that get in their way. And once this gets going, there is an autopoietic feedback system, meaning that the system keeps selecting for environments that supports its own maintenance and growth. And that environment supports the avoidance style of behavior. The lack of community and family breakdown selects for avoidance who can dissociate from the pain that this causes. Also, the lack of connection to and belonging to land causes pain, and the avoidants are great at dissociating, so they get selected for. Um, Not only economically, but as far as resources, as far as mate selection, I think, yeah, there's an ancient selection of females in our species for males who can provide and protect. And apparently, the current environment makes it so that those who can dissociate, those who are avoidant, can do that better, and they live to reproduce and make more children, so that the thing just keeps going biologically, not just culturally. This is partially from my own experience. When I was making a fair amount of money, I was able to keep a mate for a longer time and also reproduce biologically. And it does seem like, yeah, women who find out that I'm not as interested in being part of the system economically are not as interested in keeping a relationship, long-term commitments, and so on. It makes perfect sense. There's no blame here. It's just reptilian brain that's been behaviors that have been selected for by millions of years of evolution. And yeah, it's not just about economic resources. It's also that the New Age gurus like Corey Wayne and David Data are telling men to be avoidant, basically, even if they're not, just to they suggest avoidant behaviors as a way to attract women and keep them in a relationship. In other words, the renegade is really sexy for a short term fling, but for long term commitments, we're gonna go with the doctor, the lawyer, the entrepreneur, businessman. I sound like an incel, I know, but this is not about getting laid. This is about keeping mates. It's not about sex. I mean, personally, I've had plenty of sex in my life. I'm not lacking for that, but I would like to figure out how to keep a mate. And also, I'm not blaming women. I'm just pointing to some evolutionary patterns, things that have evolved over millions of years, and how modern selective pressures are coming into play with that. Um, you would expect that the situation is not symmetric. In other words, if that men would select for avoidant women, it doesn't seem to be the case. Maybe the opposite. Maybe men who are avoidant sometimes prefer anxious women, and there's no selective pressure either economically or mate selection. Well, because in our species, most of the mate selection is done by females, but also economically, women are not expected to provide and protect. So there's no advantage to them to be avoidant that way. But there are biological things that happen, or early childhood things that happen to both women and men as infants that might cause, more often than not, avoidant attachment in women as well, such as parents who themselves are avoidant and pass that on to their children. And also, I already mentioned the evolutionary advantages to avoidance for both women. And I don't know what the solution is. We have to do something different unless we want to keep going on the same trajectory of ecological destruction and the continual destruction of families, tribes, and villages, and human connection. I think it's probably not going to be enough to just address childhood trauma because we're dealing with a complex system with feedback. So we need to operate on many levels, not just psychological. Probably would help if we had a different kind of socio-economic system that was more localized, where people actually did need each other economically and cared about each other because their lives depended on it. Perhaps another way is to just have businesses that involve families and communities, but I think it's dangerous to do that because ultimately the master is going to be the global market instead of the people in our community, each other, the nature around us, and our own inner calling